Hi, it's the Happiness Guy. Today's episode of Vestibular Talks is an amazing episode. We have a very special guest. Her name is Laura. She is a blogger. She is the creator and owner of Diaries. She's also a co-host, or I should say, a co-star of the new amazing show called Vestibular Warrior Talks. So please be sure to watch. Remember to like and subscribe, and also share with your loved ones. All right? Find your happiness, guys. All right, Laura, we're live.
Cool.
Welcome to today's episode of Vestibular Talks. I really appreciate you chatting with me, taking the time to share your story with the rest of the world. So thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love what you do online. So when you sent me a message, I was so ecstatic and honored to sort of be invited to chat to you. So thank you for everything you do for our community.
No, likewise, likewise. Laura, do you mind telling us a little bit about you, your story, what happened to you?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I'm based over in Australia. In my early teens and sort of as a young adult, I suffered from chronic migraine. About 2015-16, my symptoms started to change. And when I say they started to change, I used to describe it as really lightheaded and dizzy because I really didn't know how to explain what was going on. I think a turning point for me was in 2016 when I woke up one morning and I woke up and the whole room was just, I felt like I was floating and I had no idea what was going on. And it was at that point, like I rushed to emergency because I was like, there is something seriously wrong with me. And they had said to me, no, you've just got a virus. It's a bit of vertigo, take some rest, have a time off work. Here's a medical certificate on your way type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was from there that it's sort of, I look at it as it started to get progressively worse. When I say worse, I sort of mean it more intense. So I was getting these, what I now know as vestibular attacks. They were coming sort of more regularly. And vestibular wasn't just, and looking back on it, I think I thought it was a part of my chronic migraine stage where I was getting really tired or I was getting exhausted very easy. And I had started to experience what a lot of vestibular warriors now know as derealization, where, you can be standing there and you're hot, like, you're there, you're standing there, but it's like your body is right out in front of you because you sort of feel like you're in this trance type of thing. So I actually suffered with symptoms on and off until I got diagnosed from 2015 to 2019. I actually wasn't officially diagnosed until till January 2019. So looking back on it
Wow.
now, I just 3 years. It was a big 3 years. I had moments of where I stopped driving. I was having a lot of issues with my full-time job because obviously I was taking a lot of time off work.
Yeah.
So for most people, it's, as you would understand, it was like one vestibular nightmare. Like it kept on going. It was just being in the dark all the time. And the anxiety that came with that was humongous. And, I even went to a GP once after I had been on interstate and I had been in a stadium and the music was going and the lights were going. And it's just like, my sister explains it as it's like the color just came out of my face because it was the intensity of being in that room that I immediately felt like I was going to be so sick. And nausea is one of my biggest symptoms. And I remember going to a GP back home and I broke down and I was just like, there is something wrong with me. Like, this isn't a virus. This isn't, like, my life has significantly changed. And I don't understand. And he sort of labeled me with generalized anxiety disorder because he just had no idea. And, for a brief moment, I look back on it. And I think for a moment there, I nearly believed him. I nearly thought that was it. And there was something inside of me that just said, no, this is not what's going on. And I had spoken to a specialist and they had said by chance, why don't you go and see my mate who's a physio? He deals with balance. And if you see him, he may be able to shed some light or even give you some coping mechanisms. Because I mean, for many of us that experience it, I couldn't walk far without feeling like I was going to fall over. It felt like I was constantly treading on marshmallows. And I describe it when even being in a workplace, you don't want anyone to talk to you. Like even going to the bathroom, I said it on a podcast the other. I didn't even want to drink water because I didn't want to have to get up, because I didn't want to have to explain myself and sound like the crazy girl that didn't know how to explain. So anyway, I saw this physio in early 2019, and he took one look at me. I explained my story, and he said, "You have vestibular migraine." And it was from that moment my whole life changed, because I remember going home that night. He had given me like the migraine diet, which a lot of people know as Heal Your Headache. And it was then that I connected with the online community. I found David's group. I know you interviewed him because I watched his interview last week. And I remember scrolling through his page, and I was like, oh my gosh, there are like 10,000 people, and they're all like me. They're all talking about these symptoms. And I connected with now close friends, and Alicia, so the Dizzy Cook and Vestibular Warrior. And I remember connecting and reaching out to these girls, and it was the first time my life, it sort of made sense. Like I just didn't think I was going, well, I just didn't feel as I was crazy. I know that lots of people had sympathized with me, and I have a fabulous support network, but no one understood. No one got it. And these girls got it. I had a whole community that got it. Pages like yours that were talking about it, that got it. And then my healing journey started. And basically from there, I'm still evolving. Things are a lot more under control. I see a new realm, and I've started medication late 2019. And now I'm just on the, it's more of a management. I manage my vestibular now, opposed to being stuck in my vestibular, which is, I think the notion that we all experience. So that's me in a nutshell. Feel free to ask anything else. I tried to sort of do a big overview, but I know I'm sure I've missed a few things.
No, but like what I love about your story is that it explains everything so well, and it's also so easy to relate. It's so easy, at least for me, everything that you're describing step by step. I'm like, yes, like starting from waking up one day from feeling normal to your whole world just being upside down, and you're like, what is happening to me? And going from doctor to doctor, and then basically writing you off, telling you it's anxiety. And yes, it is anxiety, but it's because there is something else causing it. There is something else that is inside of us. And then the fact that you were so strong and so brave, and you didn't settle for that anxiety diagnosis, and you continue on. So I see myself, and I know many of the viewers are gonna see themselves in you, because you described it so well in the whole process of not wanting to talk to anybody, feeling like the world is not the world, like you're in a different reality, like the Matrix. Have you ever seen the movie The Matrix?
100%. And it's so funny because I've having spoken to and connecting to so many other vestibular warriors. My friend Etta, as she says, it's like we're all cut from the same cloth. Vestibular warriors, how they relate to each other, it's like a bond that a lot of people will just never understand, because that nightmare of being stuck in a vestibular unknown, it's, as you said, you have that anxiety, but it's not because you're anxious, it's because it is scary. It's because you can be standing at like a shopping center and just waiting to pay for your groceries, and you can feel like I can't stand here anymore. I think, it's that notion of I need to hold on to something, because I don't want to explain to someone that I don't feel right, because they're going to think I'm crazy. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing our journey and talking about vestibular, because how many people must be going through the same thing as us, and they're too scared. They're too scared to talk about it. They've been told by a doctor that there's nothing wrong with them. And that's why I'm so passionate about pages like yours and having those conversations where it's telling people that, it's like me. I felt as though when I was going through this, there was something, there was something physically wrong with me, but I felt like I was failing as a human being. Like I felt like I wasn't good enough anymore. And to me, when someone
you're
tells me that,
broken.
now it breaks my heart, because we are good enough. Our vestibular is what makes us special. And it's sort of, I say to so many vestibular warriors, your journey compared to that of a normal person, and I know, like, I'm not discriminating or anything like that, but for us to get through a day versus somebody else getting through a day is so different. Because I think it was on David's page where someone was talking about exhaustion, and I remember, like, when I used to work full time, I would go to work, and not even joking, by 5 o'clock, the moment I stepped in the door, I'd have to go to sleep. I'd have to go take a nap. I'd have to lie down. And I remember reading this article that, our body is trying to keep us straight, and we're constantly battling with that in our head. But not only that, we're dealing with the anxiety that comes with that, and when we're trying to struggle through and we're trying to push through because we don't want the rest of the world to judge us, it's incredibly hard. And the strength that I think a lot of vestibular warriors are fighting through, they don't actually realize how amazing it is. I know the world is a bit of a different place at the moment with COVID, but how many people call up with a cold and they can't go into work because they've got a cold? We call in sick because it is bad. I had an employer once say to me, when I had initially discussed reducing my hours at work, they said, well, we can't accommodate that because, without them saying, we don't believe you. And that was very much the front that I took. They said, well, you look to be active in other parts of your life. We don't understand how reducing work is going to be the one that changes your recovery. And I had doctor's notes, and I was honest, and I feel as though I have always been honest to that employer. But that was a pure example of how many people must be in that situation and they aren't strong enough to say that is not okay. And ever since I admitted to myself that no, I wasn't going to tolerate anything less, and I said, no, I need to look after myself, it was like a whole new strength. I think every time we have that conversation, every time we share, every time we connect with somebody else, it's like a part of us heals at the same time. It's not even the giving, and it's the giving and the receiving that, as I said, that connection between vestibular warriors is huge. And I'm just so passionate about reaching. How many people must reach out to you as well that they've never spoken to anyone about it because they've never been brave enough to, because people in their everyday life just don't understand, how often do we hear, oh, you just need to drink more water, or maybe you just need to stop doing all the things that you're doing, and it comes from the right place, but it doesn't. We're trying everything we can. We're fighting so hard to just keep going. And I just think that's why vestibular warriors are such special people. And they've got this, like, look at everything like that you do, that the Dizzy Cook Alicia does, that Em does for Vestibular Warrior, and so many other Vita ambassadors that are just going out there and they've overcome this strength. Like, they've overcome the hard. There's no excuses. And they've gone out to make the world a better place. And to me, that's so special. Like, you talking to vestibular warriors, that's so special, because so many people need to hear, they need to know they're not alone. And that, I think, is something, when you have vestibular, for a long part of your journey, you do feel like you are all alone.
Yeah, it's so true. And you're right. So many people that reach out to me are afraid because they've been misdiagnosed or labeled, as having a mental disorder. And I'm like, no, you don't have a mental. I mean, obviously I'm not a doctor, but I'm like, I live it too. What you're describing, I'm like, I live it, and they are like, really? So they're like, I'm not crazy. I'm like, you're not. I'm like, the symptoms are crazy because the symptoms make zero sense to someone normal. But you're not crazy. It's not all in your head. It's not in your mind. So you're right. Like, I also feel bad for many people that are struggling to find that support, to find that love, to find that encouragement, because they're afraid that people are going to label them as crazy, as there's something is actually mentally not right with their head. So it's sad and unfortunate. And something that I love about what you just said, that it makes us special, and it makes us unique, and it connects us. And I don't know if you ever seen a show on Netflix called Sense8, where there is a group of people. Okay, so there is a group of people that have and see what the other person is doing, like in these specific people like that, I feel like we have that power. Like, because as soon as you describe your symptoms, I'm like, I feel like I'm you. Like, I feel, I'm like, yes, I can understand where Laura is coming from and what she's explaining and what she's feeling. And when you describe the frustration with your previous employer and the anger with the doctors and stuff like that, I feel those emotions like they were mine. I feel that the frustration and the, because I'm like, why don't they understand her? They will never be able to sympathize because they are not in her shoes. They don't know what she deals with on a daily basis to try to act normal or to even function. So I do completely feel that we have like a power that connects
We
us all
do.
into like a brotherhood and sisterhood of vestibular warriors. That's the word, vestibular warriors. Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing. And that's why I said I just feel like we are. And a lot of people sort of think, how on earth can you say that it's, someone asked me the other day, because I'd written a story for Migraine Awareness Month, and I said vestibular was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me. And they said, how could that be true? And I said, because while being stuck in vestibular was, it wasn't anywhere close to ideal, it taught me so many things about myself. And I think the level of appreciation that I have for myself now, and knowing what my body needs and listening to I only do things that serve me. If I don't want to do something and if it doesn't make me happy, I don't do it. Like, it's as simple as that. I think society program us to act a certain way and to be a certain way and to do a certain thing, and you're forever ticking boxes. And my life before vestibular, even with chronic migraine, it was ridiculous. I would run from A to B to C to D to E to F to G, and I wouldn't stop for a breath, because that's just the type of person I am. Whereas now I still move at a relatively fast pace, but I do it in a way which I'm okay with. If I need to take a time out, I take a time out. And everything I do is because I want to do it. It's because it makes me happy. And if vestibular hadn't come into my life when it did, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I think I was so concentrated on climbing up the career ladder that, to be quite honest, I don't really care about that now at all. My biggest passion is talking to people and talking to communities and working with other people and actually making a difference in the world. I had a conversation with someone yesterday where it was just like, I want to look back on life and look at it and think, hey, I made a difference. I changed the perception of, I made a part. I was a part of a very big change. I don't want to look back and say I climbed all the right ladders and made lots of money and what do I have to show for it? Because to me, that doesn't really mean anything. And that's where it's like vestibular stripped all the ego. It strips everything out of you, because, I explain it, whereas, I used to go for like a 5K run every day. Did I enjoy it? I don't know. I did it because it was a thing to do. Whereas now I don't do that because I don't enjoy it. I do stuff like yoga and meditation because I love it. Like, I love it. I love going there. I love being in the environment. I love being at peace with myself and actually just being silent. And before, I would never have been able to do that. Like, when we were in Steps to Balance Week in May, for a lot of people, the challenge was just walking to the end of the driveway, because in the midst of your symptoms, sometimes that's not possible. And when I still have a vestibular attack, it's just not possible. And I think for a long time, I would try to push past that. Whereas now I'm like, no, that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Walking to the end of the driveway is an achievement. I think we so often miss out on all the small steps. We never appreciate them. We're forever trying to do the next big thing. We're always trying to, while we look big picture, we forget about the journey. And we so often talk about it, that vestibular is a journey. And I think as you go through that journey, you just learn so much about yourself. And I wouldn't rewrite it. If I had to go back and shorten down not knowing what I had, might have done that. But I would never change what I've had to go through to get me to this point.
Yeah. Laura, something that I have noticed is that many of us we're all fairly young, like we're in our 20s, 30s, and it seems like we get our big chronic episode around this age. I met people that have gotten it younger. I met people that have gotten it later in life, but it seems like the common trend is the 20s and 30s. Do you think that is because we live such a fast-paced lifestyle with stress and all of this, or do you think that is because our hormones are changing around that period of time and it triggers something in our system? Like, where do you think this comes from?
Well, as I said, I'm not a doctor, so I'll tell you what I think. I
Yeah,
once had someone say to me that, like, in my case, migraines were like a chameleon in the sense that they're forever changing. And I actually heard once that it was quite common for people within that 20 to 30 range to for their symptoms to change, and it was quite a common. Don't get me wrong, I've certainly spoken to people that have been older, that have been suffering with the symptoms for a long time and have struggled to get it out of control. But I think, and I know what you mean, because, you know, even talking to a lot of the others is we're all sort of like type A, aren't we, in the sense that we all used to be perfectionists, we all used to kick our goals, and it was just like we needed something to stop us. Like, even if I had a migraine before, it wouldn't stop me. I'd push through the pain. To me, and I know, like, you know, a lot of people obviously had pain worse than I did, but vestibular stopped me. You know, my chronic migraine didn't bring on anxiety. It brought me pain. Pain I could control with, you know, in unhealthy ways. Pop a tablet, see what happens, go to sleep,
yeah.
done. Vestibular, as you would know, doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
When you're in the midst of your symptoms, you can't do anything. You can try to push, but you are going to end up having a really horrible time. And that's why, you know, and I think about it is, I said, Edda says, you know, we're all cut from the same cloth. I don't know how to explain it, and people might think I'm crazy, but I'm just like, we're so, we all lived very similar lives
Similar lifestyles.
before we did. And then it's just like and I think that's why we all relate to each other so well. And, you know, as you said, you listen to other vestibular warriors talk about it and you're just like, yes, that used to be me. Yes, I completely resonate with that, because it's just so, yeah, that was definitely the life. And I don't know if it's hormones or if it's stress, but I think maybe we were just destined to do this. Like, I don't know, like, and I said, I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but I just believe, like, you and I were supposed to be a light to help other vestibular warriors, like the other Vita ambassadors. That was what they were meant to do. They were meant to be the people that changed the world, like you say. We were meant to be the ones that said, we were the ones that were in those jobs that were crazy ridiculous, and we were working on things that didn't serve us. This serves us because it touches our hearts in so many ways. It's just like people say to me, how do you do all that you do? I said, because it's not work. It's because it's talking straight from the heart. It's talking about experience, and it's talking about, as you said, you can't fake it. Like, you can't. Like, you either have been through a vestibular condition, you've been through chronic illness, or you haven't. And so when you talk, and it's like, a doctor is great, and I'm not condemning doctors in anything, because they're perfect at writing up the scripts and, you know, listening to, but it's, unless you've physically gone through it, like, as I said, my neuro is fabulous, but so much of my healing has been from other vestibular warriors. So much of my journey has come from reading pages like yours, connecting with other vestibular warriors. And that's where I feel as though I'm just at a point of my life that I want to give back to our community. I want to be that voice for someone who needs to hear that they are amazing, because we are amazing. We have so much potential. And I think for so many people, they just need someone to say, I believe in you. I understand what you're going through. And yes, it sucks. Vestibular sucks, but it doesn't define us. It's not going to stop us from kicking massive goals in life. And I think that strength to keep going not a lot of people have. I'm not saying it's impossible. There are a lot of people that achieve greatness without chronic illness. But I think to me, the most touching and stories that resonate with me hard is the people that have had to battle their way through it. And that's where it's just like when vestibular warriors start to recognize just how special they are, that's when magic happens, because they realize that they can do anything. And I remember saying to Em, I was just like, I haven't done childbirth, so I don't know what that's like. I said, but I feel like if we've done vestibular, you can just do about anything, because you look back on it and you're just like, I had someone ask me, so what did you do when you had an attack when you were driving? And I said, I don't know. I said, it was just like, I would have an attack and then I would have an anxiety attack every single time. And I stopped driving for that reason. And I said, and they said, how did you do it? And I said, I don't know. It's like I knew I was driving the car. My body didn't feel like I was driving the car. And then I had that anxiety and my nervous system panicking. And sometimes I would be at a traffic light. I said, I don't know how I did it. I had to turn the corner and park somewhere. And I have no explanation. It was just, I obviously had a guardian angel. And it's like separating. It was, and as you would know, it's like you said, it's the matrix. It's like you are there, you know what you are doing, but you can't feel it. And as I said to someone, imagine walking and not feeling as though you're walking. You know you're walking. You can see yourself walking, but you can't feel it. And people are like, how do you do that?
So insane. Yes, that's so. It sounds to someone that doesn't experience it. Like when you try to explain this, it sounds like, even to me that I experience it on a daily basis, it sounds like so wild, but it's so true how you're describing it. Like you're walking, you know you're walking, you don't feel like you're walking, but you know you're moving. So it's yes. Laura, something that you so first of all, I know you're a blogger. You have the Diaries. Congratulations with that. You do an excellent job at that. I also know that you're now a fellow, how would I say, broadcaster, because you're now a co-host for the Vestibular Warrior Talks. No co-host. You're a co-star. You're a co-star. I wanna call you a star. So you're a co-star for the show, and you talk. I watched all your episodes. I watched your episode today, and you said about the quick fixes. You said that something that has helped you is the diet, changing your diet. I, much like you, follow a very, very strict diet. Like I'm to the T. I started following the migraine diet from the book. Then I found other migraine diets that kind of like, the problem with that is that they start to get more complex and kind of like contradict each other in some ways. And then I started reading the medical medium, which I know Em is a huge fan of. And then I was like, oh shoot, a lot of the foods from the migraine diet that are okay are not okay in the medical medium. So I kind of removed those or restricted those even more. So the diet becomes really, really, really restrictive, and it becomes you have to be really disciplined. However, as hard as that is, I do feel that that's part of my healing journey. So how do you maneuver with a world that has unlimited amounts of food and all sorts of delicious yet not good foods to eat, with the fact that you have to program yourself to, like, if you're going to be out in public, you have to know where you're going to eat. If you're going to be at a friend's house or a family member's house, you got to make sure that what they are cooking is acceptable for you, without being rude to them, because I mean they don't understand what you're going through. So how do you deal with that? Because diet is a big topic.
And diet for me, that was when as I said, I was able to get my symptoms under control through diet initially. So when I started on medication, I was already, I feel, at 80%. I was 80% through a recovery stage in terms of managing it. But as you said, it is, and I talk to a lot of vestibular warriors, and they say, it's too hard. And, I think because I went through my symptoms for so long without any answers, I was just like, give me a diet. If a diet is going to fix how I feel, I was like, I don't care. Like, I was just like, it's just like having diabetes. Diabetes, you can't eat a certain amount of food. And so I looked at it as the same thing. So I went really hard with Heal Your Headache to start with. And through connecting with Em, she did a lot of plant-based. So I was just like, oh, I'm going to give that a go. And to me, I don't follow one strict diet. I use elements, I think, of all others and try to identify what best works for me. I find the more plant-based I eat, the better I feel. And a lot of people say, oh, I need meat. Like, I can't give up meat. And I just thought, well, if I wanted meat, I would have meat. But I feel the difference pretty much straight away. I may not get a headache, but my body feels different, I think, because I have cleaned it out a lot. I still have a lot of cleansing to do, but like you, Medical Medium has been really good because it introduced me to like a good routine. You know, I have my lemon and water in the morning. I have my celery juice. I follow that on with a smoothie. So some of the practices in Medical Medium I was doing already. I just didn't have it quite as structured and, you know, quite as clean. And the stuff that, for those that don't follow Em, you're crazy if you don't, she posts the best stuff. So she finds the best recipes, she pops them up. I love Alicia's recipe book too. So I find things, I might substitute, and I found being in Australia, you don't get a lot of the ingredients. So when I'm making things myself, I tend to go for, people look at it and they're like, vegan. Vegan is hard to get. I don't necessarily just look at vegan. I look at foods that don't have preservatives. And for me, and as I said, I use different elements from different diets to make it work for me. But the preservatives is the big one for me. If something has a preservative in it, that is when I have the worst of my worst attacks. And sometimes I'll accidentally have a preservative because I would have been like, oh, I should have thought about that. That, like, if I've gone out and had pasta with spaghetti thinking pasta should be okay, but the tomato sauce might have been preserved. It wouldn't have been made fresh. And people, it's that way of thinking. In terms of going out, I do have a relatively lovely social life. I'm just careful, you know, so I think the way the world is going, actually being vegan is quite trendy. So that actually works for me. You know, I don't eat vegan to be trendy. I turn to some of the vegan foods because, you know, instead of having something big and delicious like, you know, a steak and chips, I'll have like a huge salad. And funny that you say that, you know, a lot of people think I can't eat salad. Vegan salads and Medical Medium salads are not lettuce and tomato. They're these, you know, you get so much goodness in, as I said, and if people don't follow Em, you have to follow Em because she produces these beautiful meals. There's just so much out there in terms of getting ideas and creative. And you are right, it is a discipline. But to me, it's a discipline. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I go in and I do spurge. But when I spurge, 9 times out of 10, I feel horrible. And to me, it's just not worth it. To me, feeling the way I feel when I'm in control, and I get so much goodness from the foods that, like, from the non-preservative foods. I get, like, it's funny how, like, you know, if they're people that do read Medical Medium and even other readings as well around that, it's because I know there's controversy around different diets. But if you have a look at the whole picture, and I try to look at the whole picture, is preservatives and food, they're made up of, there's so many fillers, there's so many different bits and pieces. The more whole foods you have, I actually find the more delicious food is. And I think before I would go and choose, like, you know, something greasy or something big and indulgent because it looked good. It's not really big and indulgent for me anymore, to be honest. Now, to me, having something scrumptious like this beautiful salad full of pumpkin and, you know, rocket and, you know, vegetables, you know, just stuff like that. It's just goodness to me. And I think that's a lot like you look at your past life and how busy life was, and it would be whining and dining and eating rubbish and, you know, not fueling your body with the good stuff. And I know people look at it and I think that is too hard. It's just programming. So, like, you know, I go to the shops, I'll look at the ingredients and I'll be like, it's just a change of thinking. And now, yeah, it took a little bit of time, but it was worth it. Like, and that's at the beginning, I was just like, if I have to go on a diet and it's going to stop making me feel like this, I'm going to do it. And I sort of, I compared it to that whole notion of if you're diabetic, you don't eat certain foods because your insulin moves. Vestibular, yes, it's not an insulin thing, but there's symptoms that you get from that. Yes, I feel as though it is horrible. And I know people are like, well, what about if you do want to eat normal food? Most of my friends, they now know. So, if I am going to someone's house for dinner, normally people will check in to make sure I'm going to make this. Is that okay? And I know it's awkward and I know people feel awkward, but I really appreciate that. And if people don't understand, I just don't think they're your people. Like, do you know what I mean? If you were diabetic and you had to go to someone's house and they said, oh, can you eat this or can't you eat this? It would be the same notion. And the difference I feel, and actually since changing up my routine for medical medium, like, having more of a structure of when I was fueling my body, through isolation, like I've caught up with a lot of people and they've said, you just look so much brighter. I said, it's because I've literally eliminated
you cleanse
all the rubbish. And it is, I wouldn't give up how I feel now, to be honest. And it is hard. A diet is really hard for a lot of people and you do have to be strict, but I just look at what it is in comparison and it's not hard. It's just changing your programming. People say, how do you have a smoothie every morning? I love my smoothie every morning. It's delicious. Do you know what I mean? To me, I have toast and bread and butter and my body's just like, oh, what is that? And don't get me wrong, I'll go out and have eggs and that with girlfriends sometimes. And as long as I'm relatively happy with where we're going, and I do know a lot of good places here in Perth. So quite often I'm the one that suggests it. So I know where I can go that's got a decent menu that's not going to make me feel gross. So it's just, I think for that reason, and I know for a lot of vestibular worries where we talk about you lose friends or you lose relationships, and it's just a part of life. If you feel as though you can't change your diet because you're going to get judged, it's just not enough for me. That's not a reason not to give it a go if it's going to significantly help you. And I've connected with people that went down the medication route first and have now started to look at diet. And I'm so thankful that I connected with, as I said, like Alicia and Em, because I did diet first. Yes, I got the piece of paper that said what the migraine diet was, but they made it more real for me because they showed me what food looked like. Do you know what I mean? What I could eat. And, the pictures of how they managed it. And it's that real notion of if they can do it, well, then I can do it. And I look back on it and it's really been 18 months since it all changed food-wise. And I couldn't be better. And I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back to the way it was, not only from the point of it being vestibular, but there's so many foods that are unhealthy that you don't even realize that they're pouring into your body.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, like, you feel better, you feel brighter, you feel like you're glowing with like a different energy because we cleanse so much. The food is so controversial though, Laura, because I've met people that have never changed their diet and they just did the medication and they got it better. And they're like, you see, I didn't have to change my diet. And I'm like, well, good for you. Like if it worked, great. But I've met people that have changed their diet like we have, and for whatever reason they don't improve. And they're like, you see, this doesn't help. And I'm like, you just gotta give it time and stick with it, because and diet is part of it, but it's not the whole cure. So you need to understand that too. And they're like, well, you seem to be better. I'm like, yes, but you can compare my journey to yours. We're also unique. And at the same time, they don't know that, okay, I do diet, but I do a ton of supplements. I do a ton of drinking water. I do yoga and meditation. I do VRT therapy every single day, twice a day. So they don't know that. So they assume that just the diet alone is the cure, and it's not. Like it's a holistic approach. It's a complex process of a few things together. And something that you said today in the episode of Vestibular Warrior Talks in episode 3, you said something that brought me back to reality. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I'm feeling better. I'm doing better. I can't wait to feel completely 100%. And then today you said, we might never get to 100%, but we can learn to manage the symptoms. It's about symptom management. And that brought me down to reality. And it was a bittersweet. It was bitter because I'm like, it's so true, but it was sweet because I'm like, but it is true. So it's true that we can manage it. Like we can still have a quality of life and manage the symptoms. So how do you cope with understanding that this might be your new normal for the rest of life and you have to manage it, but with the hope and with the idea that we would like to eventually get better. And for example, she says that she's way better, and I'm sure we're all happy for her, and I'm sure we all want to be at that point as well and be like, hey, I want to get there too. So let me catch up to you so we can all be better too. So how do you cope with the reality of telling yourself, you know what, this is a process and it might be a lifetime process? Like, how do you cope with that?
To be honest, it is a very interesting subject, and I have a lot of people that say, I've tried medical medium, I tried the headache diet, I tried heal your headache, and none of it worked. It's a process. We didn't get vestibular overnight. It was something that happened. And, I'm not saying for right now, the research is that I'm not a doctor, but the research says that migraine is not curable. Migraine is a disability. And I used to be really ashamed of that. I used to think I can't, that word disability, it's like you said, it's so debilitating in the sense of, is this going to be my new normal? There could be a cure, something could happen in the next few years, but I think for me, it's acceptance. I accept I have vestibular migraine, and I work within what that means. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I don't think my life will ever be, this is my normal. Whereas I feel as though, I think for a lot of people, they think, I don't feel the way I used to feel. You might never feel the way you used to feel, but you could feel better. I look at my life back then, and even though I'm not 100%, I feel better than what my life was before, because I'm a new me. And I think for me, that's the important one. And you do hope that there will be a cure. But to me, migraine is a treatment management plan. And I think the moment you accept that, that's when a lot of the healing starts, because you accept that you can't just take a pill and your vestibular migraine is going to go away, because your vestibular migraine might never go away. But it's like, and I talk to the girls about it as well. It's, we don't have a vestibular attack every single day, but we still suffer with some of the symptoms. And, we so often talk about, we go on medication to really knock the last part on its head. And when people say knock the last part on its head, does that mean that you're cured? Well, no, it just means that my whole day isn't spent walking on a marshmallow. I still have vestibular migraine. It's just, it's in control, and I think a lot of it is when I accepted it, the anxiety left me, because I get scared when it happens, but I know now that it's an event. It's an event that happens, an event happens and it ends and the event's over. Whereas before, the anxiety would drive me to the point where I'd have a vestibular attack, I'd have an anxiety attack, then I'd have my next vestibular attack, and then it would be this constant cycle, vestibular anxiety, and it just felt like it would never finish. Whereas now, I accept I have a vestibular condition, and it's an event. The event finishes. And yeah, you might feel crappy afterwards, but when you don't know and you're not treating it in any way, shape or form, people just say, I just don't think I ever get any relief. Well, you don't, because your nervous system is going at a billion time beats per hour. And it's, I know I got quite vocal about it on our thing yesterday, where I was just like, it goes like that, and then it goes like that, and then it goes like that, and then you go like that, because there are so many different things that are happening. So it is, and I know it's not what a lot of people want to hear. A lot of people want to know how it got better, but it will get better. The nightmare gets better, but I don't feel as though vestibular migraine will disappear anytime soon. I said there's research and there's medicine every single day, and that's amazing. And maybe there will be a cure one day, but I don't believe there is a cure yet. There are ways to manage it.
Speaking of medications and cures and things like that, would you mind sharing what kind of medication you've been trying out to see if it works?
So I know the American version is like the nortriptyline. So mine
Prescription.
is a low dose antibiotic. Not antibiotic, antidepressant here in Australia, and it's called Laxine. So for those that get a bit, I was the same. I got a bit stressed out because I was just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about an antidepressant. But like a depressed person would go on a dosage from what my doctor said to me of something close to 200 milligrams. My dose is 35 milligrams, and I take that every single morning without fail. But as I said, that was a year in. I didn't start taking that
Yeah,
until
that
most of
was the
my
beginning.
symptoms were under control. And the goal for that is in I think it's October I see my specialist. We'll start to wean me off that to see what happens. So it will be in the next part of my journey.
And you have seen an improvement since you added that extra layer of help?
Yeah, similar to a lot of other people's stories where they got a lot of improvement from the holistic, but they were still having the intensity of my attacks was still pretty bad. So if I wasn't having as many attacks, but the severity of attacks was bad. So for me, the medication has significantly reduced the attacks and the intensity of the attacks. It's really brought me closer to that 100% more manageable. Not 100, but definitely closer to that 100% more manageable.
Okay. Laura, something that I feel when you said the word disability, and for many of us, it's a hard pill to swallow and to understand, and it's a reality and it's true. I think why we have such a hard time with people understanding us, it's because, like, for example, I look at you. You are a confident woman. You're sophisticated. You're extremely intelligent. You're well spoken, and and someone sees you and they're like, well, you have all these qualities. You look perfectly fine. So how is this a disability? How is this so bad if you look perfectly fine? So I think that what's so important is we need to, like, you and the other girls, you found a sisterhood, you found a group of vestibular warriors that you put together, and you support each other. You became lifetime friends now, and even sisters. I feel like we all need to rally after behind each other and support each other. Not have any competition, not have any animosity. No, we need to support each other, because what M is doing, for example, like M is a force to be reckoned with. Like
She's
she's
amazing. Her
she's
and
got a
Alicia
lot.
are amazing.
Yeah, so I believe that what M is doing with the vestibular warrior, that's not a project, that's a movement. She's doing a movement, and I feel that we all need to back her up, and we all need to rally behind each other, because it's the only way how we can make this condition or this disability acceptable and basically not frowned upon. Because right now people, like, at the beginning, I love my family, but at the beginning my family will look at me and they're like, but you look fine. They're like, stop whining, or stop being dizzy, or stop complaining. It's just dizziness. I'm like, it's not just dizziness. I'm like, it's a lot more. It's all the
Yeah.
visual disturbances. This in the movies, when a grenade or a bomb goes off and people feel like all disoriented, and there is like this loud beep in your ears, and they feel like everything is moving and nothing is focused. That's how I explain it. I'm like, it's almost like a bomb went off and I was close to it, and it just hit me. So I think that if we rally after each other and we support M with the movement, and the vestibular warrior movement, and support each other, like vestibular talks, vestibular warrior talks, and all the other people that are trying to make a difference. You with the DC Diaries, and the DC Cook with her book, and with the diets. I think that if we all rally for each other, we will make a difference for not only for ourselves, but for the medical industry, because
Yeah.
they're gonna see, wow, these people actually are are suffering, and these people are actually going through something that is real, and it's not just anxiety, and it's not just in their mind. It's not craziness. So I feel that we all need to become tighter to each other, and support each other more.
Yeah, definitely. Could not have said it better myself.
Laura, before we finish, for all the people that, first of all, where can people find you?
Dizzy, I am Dizzy.Diaries. I'm on Instagram. I am on Facebook, but I've only to me, the Instagram community is amazing. I do post a lot of the same stuff on Facebook. I do have a website which is under construction, but as I said, my Instagram is sort of the source to a lot of the things I share. And as I said, the girls and I, Vestibular Guru, Etta, Vestibular Ash, Vestibularly Ash, and M Vestibular Warrior, we sort of got together and we have committed to doing like chats every week on different subjects. So as I said, inspired by a lot of the things that you do and wanting to give back to the community. So as you said, is we just all need to rally behind each other. You know, it's no competition, it's none of that. It's just to help each other learn and to grow and to heal, and we are in this together always.
Yeah. And my last question to you, Laura, is what would you like to say to all the people that are watching and the ones that will watch that are going through this and they feel like their life has ended or their life as they knew it is over? Like, what would you like to say to them?
Just keep going. We connect with the community because the community understands you. Nothing, you just need to believe. You just need to believe that it will. And it's a very easy word for people to think, oh, it sounds so fuzzy, is we understand, we have been there, and to look at the other vestibular warriors now and the progress they have made, there is no reason why you can't get to where, you know, you and I both are and have your symptoms under control. You are not alone. There's an amazing community that is right behind you, and there, you know, you might not resonate with me, you might resonate with others. Is reach out. You'll find that there are so many vestibular warriors that are there to give. It's beautiful. The community is just, I have no words for how amazing our community is.
Yeah, so true. And I want to thank you, Laura. I want to thank you for being you, for being so charismatic, for being so warm and fuzzy talking to you. Like it's awesome. So thank you. I appreciate you and taking the time to chat with me and to share your story with all of us. So thanks.
No, thank you so much to you for inviting on. And I said, absolutely love the work you do on Instagram, everything you post, and you're such a massive milestone. Like you're a force all in itself, and you're a movement all in yourself. So I think, you know, what you're doing for the community is absolutely amazing. So if we can connect with half as many people as you know, we know that we're doing a good job. So no, thank you for being you and for providing the opportunities that you provide.
Thank you. And I keep watching your episodes. I enjoy them a lot. So I'll keep watching them.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Bye, Laura. Have a good day.
Bye. You too.